Welcome to Indigenous Avenues. My name is Brutis, Baez, also known as Big B. Starting a new podcast, and this is our very first episode, and it's basically just about good conversation with some good people that I not only inspire to be like, but also look up to and follow their careers or whatever they're doing and the effects they have on our community. And so today we have a young man by the name of Austin Smith Jr. Say what's good, man.
Hey, how's it going, Bruce?
And so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do? What do you do for a living?
All right. Well, I work for the tribes as a wildlife biologist under the Natural Resources Department. So, basically I monitor the big game on the reservation. What that means is helping out and incorporating the game management efforts of, a lot of our first foods. So mule deer, and then we got mountain goats, bighorn sheep, and elk.
So I had seen a documentary yesterday about tagging elk, right? And these guys were in a helicopter and they were shooting like it seemed to be like a net.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys do that?
Yeah, actually, we just wrapped up a 5-year study on mule deer on the reservation. So
really?
We contracted out a company, come out and net gun mule deer, and we threw a bunch of collars on them so we could identify what our population of deer is doing on the reservation, and where they're going. And it was really cool data because we're seeing deer moving from, like, say, the Shatike area all the way up, to the north of the res, if even like up to Mount Hood.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool data that, like, man, these deer not only live here, but they live off the reservation, and really? they don't see borders.
Yeah. And I also seen the that do you drive a helicopter?
No, we contract them out, so we get funding. That basically we contract out different companies. So right now we completed a mule deer study, or the mule deer study. We contracted out the guys to do the capture.
Yeah. And
then also we do our annual surveys of all the big game. So, basically we'll get pilots out there. There's pilots that fly for Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they fly for the tribes and other different agencies doing work that pertains to wildlife and fisheries.
That's awesome. And how did you get into this job? Like, was it handed down? Like, there was a position that somebody was in, and they said, Austin could be good for this, or was it created?
Well, I guess I have to go back to my younger days when I was a tribal youth worker. During the WED program and all that. So, I was bouncing from working for my uncle's construction company to working for summer recreation, and then there's an opening for a youth intern at Natural Resources, and it was one of the first years they actually interviewed for working with. I don't know if you remember Terry Luther, and my current boss right now is Doug Calvin. Mm-hmm. So Doug Calvin, Terry Luther, and Oliver Kirk were the guys doing the interview of all the youth interns. And so I go in there, it was my first interview ever. So I was like, I didn't know what to do. My dad's like, well, wear a collared shirt, tuck it in, and throw a belt on. Wow. So I was like, okay. So I go in there, I don't have no resume or anything. All I have is application. Mm-hmm. And it just talks about my experience with the outdoors. It's all hunting and fishing based, camping, 4-H. I did a little bit of youth search and rescue, cadet programs.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just like, oh, maybe that'll work. So I threw it on there. And so they interviewed me. There's probably about 5 or 6 people interviewed. And I was picked as well as another youth worker to, after that interview, I was like, I got the job. And I was like so happy. I was like, all right, this is going to be fun. So, getting into it, I was like, maybe there's something I'm going to like doing. And right from the get-go, it was this work that didn't appeal to most kids, most teenagers. We had to clean trucks. We had to go down to the parks, clean all the shitters. And I'm like, man, this sucks. But what I didn't realize was that our boss was looking at us saying who the hard workers were. So, the first week is just cleaning the truck, then cleaning the shitters, and we're just like, man, this sucks. And a few guys are like, I want to go to a different department. And I was just like, I don't care. I'm gonna stick it out. This is I was raised working, so it's this is cool. It's fine. And pretty soon we start doing cool stuff. We're going out with the wildlife techs, looking at like, say, peregrine falcons up in the Cascades,
wow,
hiking in, observing them, or like going down, looking at the bighorn sheep that were reintroduced in the early 2000s, 2002.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And then just going out and seeing all the big game in their natural environment and understanding, like, man, this is what our people were here for. This is what they survived off of. So I was like, all right, well, from there, my interest is sparked, and pretty soon I stayed in it. Every season I applied for it, all the way through high school, and I was just like, this is something I want to go to school for, become a biologist. And I was just like, all right, this is what I'm going to go to school for my senior year. And there was a lot going on at the time with the country, with war, and I was like, I knew school was going to be expensive, and I wanted to go to Oregon State, but I knew the tuition was, really expensive. Right. So my one of my advisors at school was like, there's a military option, and that will help out as well. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And one day I seen like this Army recruit came in, talked to me. He's like, yeah, come look at the Army, look at opportunities. And I have an older half brother that was in the Army. My older sister, Winter Sky, she was in the Army. Oh, yeah, I know Winter Sky. Yeah, so I was just like, yeah, I think that's something I want to do. And then, I talked to him a bit, set up interviews. And then this one day, this Marine recruiter comes walking down the hallway in his dress blues, medals on and everything.
In school. This is in school.
Yeah, this is in school. So I'm just thinking like, holy shit, who's that guy?
Yeah.
It's like, man, he looks badass. And, all these medals on him.
Yeah.
And just at that instance, I was like, hey, that's a Marine. And so he's like, hey, how you doing? Starts talking to me in the hallway. Just BSing with me. A bunch of guys sitting around were like, oh, man, what you do? What's your job? What'd you do in the Marines? And he starts telling us a little bit about it. And he's like, pulls me to the side. It's like, hey, are you interested in joining? I was like, well, I don't know. What do the Marines do? And it's like, he's like, well, do you know Sunshine Ubeda? I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, he's a Marine. He went to school here at Madras High. He fought in, he started telling me all these, the invasion and all that. And he's like, he was in infantry. I'm like, no way. He's like, yep, I keep track of all the guys in the Central Oregon area. So it's like, hey, if you have some time, let's review your ASVAB score, and maybe we could get you signed up or looking at job opportunities in the Marine Corps. So that same day we sat down, did like the ASVAB review. I had a good score. And he's like, these are the job opportunities for you in the military, and this is what the contract would be. And I was like, wow. I was like, yeah, maybe I want to do this. If I want to join the military, why not join the most badass guys as a Marine?
Is it true? I paused for that. I've always wanted this because I've had a few people in my life that do all this kind of stuff that in the Army and everything, and they have like little names for each other when they tease each other, right? But I've always known and always heard that Marines are the badasses.
Yeah, I mean, from the get-go, from any, from the Battle of Belleau Wood, World War I, from Iwo Jima, World War II, to the invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, Singh, Helms Province, Fallujah. The Marines were like the tip of the spear. They're the shock force. They go in and they take over, and that's their whole job, is just wipe out the enemy and kill. We're basically a shock troop, shock troops on the ground, land, air, and sea. And, there's the other branches like Army. They're more of a police force. They're so big. They're the ones that go in and occupy an area. And they have so many more jobs in there. The Marines, we're limited to certain jobs, limited to funding. So, they basically just train us to kill, and just basically take over countries, invade, all of that stuff. We're there to protect the nation as well. So, that was my initial thought was like, man, these guys are pretty badass. Yeah. But when I got into it, I realized like, holy shit, this is gonna suck. I knew it. I was like, when I went to boot camp, I was like, man, am I really here? Somebody wake me up. So there I was, in MCRD San Diego boot camp, just freshly 18 years old. I was like, man, my parents had to sign a waiver when I signed up, out of high school. So I was 17 when I enlisted. And, I went in as 18 under the delayed entry program. So I knew where I was going to go. I knew what job I was going to do. I was infantry. Yeah, I knew I was going to be, within less than a year, I was probably going to be in combat. Yeah. So I was just it hit me when I was in boot camp. I was like, man, this is what I'm doing. Here. I'm actually here. Yeah. And so, I went through all the motions. Boot camp sucked. Then I came home for a little spell and had a few days.
Do people go back? What's the ratio of people that don't go back?
Oh man, there's probably less than maybe 5% that actually, that they go AWOL or they pop on drugs, because they drug test you all the time in the military. Yeah. So, there's always that. Guys getting in trouble, DUIs, all that crazy stuff. It always happens. But yeah, probably less, because majority of the time the guys who get out of boot camp, they want to go back because they know they have a job, and else you don't get paid. So from there, I went to infantry training. That's about roughly 11, 12 weeks, and then from there I went to my unit, and I was like hating life again because I'm the fresh guy. The new guys, were called boots. We didn't rate hair. So
what kind of torturous things do they do?
Oh man, there's just so many ways of hazing that they cut back on a little bit now. But back when I went in, it was like the era of the guys who invaded Iraq, who did 2003, 2004 deployment. So Fallujah and all that. So they were all there, and they were just like, they lost a lot of Marines. Our battalion lost 33 guys during that pump. And so we're like the new guys just showing up. So they're just like, oh yeah, new guys, let's F them up, So, they have nothing else to do because we're in between a deployment. So it was like getting ready for our workup training. And so we had to be the new guys who got trained and hazed. We got thrown in the shower with it on and doing push-ups, sweating your ass off. Or they have this thing where they they say like build a bridge, so you're sitting on your head with your hands behind your back, building like a tripod. Oh man, for like hours of sitting there and doing push-ups and running back and forth, playing what they call fuck games, stuff like that. That just sucks. But it was all like a rite of passage. You go through the phase of hazing,
and that's how you guys become that bond.
They break you down. Get to know who basically breaks under pressure. Yeah, those are the guys that weave out. They're like, we don't want him. He has an attitude problem. We can't have that in our unit. So they'll send him off somewhere to some other different unit. So it all works out, and that's kind of like the system had a Marine Corps, and a lot of those. Even the Army works that way as well. And how they weave everyone out. So got into my unit as infantry, thrown into a team, 4-man team. And we're like, all right, you start doing briefings on like, this is where we're going in Iraq, Al Anbar province. It's a heated area. So we're like, man, we're actually going to fight in this war. Yeah. So we did our workup. It was like the 6 to 9 month workup. And then we were deployed. I mean, we got over there, and it was like, I remember like we flew in to Camp El Assad, and they're like, all right, well, get on the helicopters. We're going into your combat zone. I'm like, wow, going to combat zone. And my squadron's like, hey, Smith, getting that combat pay now, there, boot. I'm like, oh shit, Wow. So we like flew in at night and got into our operating base, which was the area called Haditha Dam. And, it's like the Sunni Triangle. It was like pretty hot and heavy. There was, a lot of fighting going on. And so we went into the area thinking like, man, we're going to go right into it like in a fog of war. Yeah. Like, we got there. It was pretty mellow. Yeah. And I was like, man, this ain't too bad. It's like morning hit. And they're like, all right, we got a patrol at 07. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is patrol. I remember, training for this. And like we're getting out, going to the ASP, which is like where they keep all the ammo, grenades, all that. We check in, check out. So we're getting there. We're getting filled up on our ammo, filling all our mags. We're grabbing grenades, grabbing rockets, and we're like, getting ready for a patrol. And all I remember is this loud whistle over our heads. I'm like, what's that? And we could just hear one, get the F down, take cover. We start getting mortared, rockets coming in at us. Wow. Boom, boom, all around us. I just remember peeking over this little HESCO barrier, and I see this splash, and this sergeant grabs me by the helmet, throws me down. It's like, hey, you fucking dumbass boot, get your ass down. So I'm like, then you could just feel the shrapnel, everything flying over our heads. And I'm like, holy crap. This is real. I had to like snap too and realize like, oh, this is real. Yeah. I'm in war now.
Wow. What year was that?
That was 05.
05. Yeah. Wow. I think I was somewhere sipping Mai Tais pie on the beach somewhere. Yeah. And then so after the war, you come home And then how do you adjust to it here? You go to school?
Yeah, well, not initially,
Yeah.
Getting out, it was just like, what's next? I had the option to re-enlist. I had the option to get out. I was like, I'm getting out. There's a lot going on in my family then. That's when I lost my brother to suicide in 2009. And so I knew I wanted to get out and, kind of relieve the stress from my family. So I got out and I was just like, I'm going to, just kind of hang out, collect unemployment since I'm fresh out for a little bit and figure out where I'm going to go from here. And so, I got out, started partying, started, feeling the effects of PTSD and realized like, man, this sucks, Yeah. I don't know what to do. I want to go back. That was my initial thought was I want to go back. I miss all my buddies. They're about to deploy to Afghanistan. I want to be there with them. And, my girlfriend, my wife, but she was a girlfriend at the time, she was going to school at the Central Oregon Community College. And, she's like, maybe you should pursue education like you said you were gonna. I'm like, well, maybe. And I was like, thought about it. She was taking those fall classes. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll, go for it. So I contacted the VA, the Veterans Assistant for Educations, and I was like, well, let's get in classes. So then they asked me like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, there's a lot, I like the outdoors. I like wildlife. I like fisheries. I like, forestry. And like, all right, well, we'll do general studies for you. Let's start you on your associates. So I did. I went to COCC for my first trimester. And I took a few classes, intro to forestry, some computer classes. I tested pretty high in my math and reading. So, I was like, well, let's just go from there. And I was like, I really like forestry. So I started in the forestry program. So I started taking forestry classes. And then pretty soon I was like, I need a job for the summertime. Mm-hmm. So I finished my winter and spring term and summertime, I came down here, started looking for a job. And so I went knocking on my old boss's door, and it's like, he was just him, his two techs, Oliver and Bear Tracks. And then he had a biologist named Jamie Hurd who used to work for the state. And, they were like, oh, hey, we're looking for a tech, Yeah, so I was like, oh, no way. They're like, yeah, we could use your help. You'll be a limited duration employee, being that you're going to school. So let's get you on. So they, I did all my paperwork, and they got me a job. And lo and behold, that summer they were doing a reintroduction of mountain goats in the Jefferson Wilderness. I was like, well, that'd be fun. And so Jamie, she set me up with all the gear I needed. Made contacts with all the ODFW guys, and so they were doing a capture over in Eastern Oregon of mountain goats.
So what they do is they capture them and bring them back.
Yeah, they bring them, so it's a reintroduction. So there used to be mountain goats within the Cascades, but during the European settlement, over-harvest, disease, all that wiped them out. So they captured them. They captured about, I don't know, there's probably roughly about 50 or so. And they brought them over, and we were the ones, setting up the location to release them.
How do you find a location for it?
The biologist from ODFW, as well as our biologist here, came over, and they did their surveys based off of historical data, based off of the range, habitat similar to where they were captured. Right. High alpine, subalpine areas, a lot
of rocky too.
Yeah, really rocky. Those high peaks up by the Cascades.
Yeah.
So the location they picked was just near Lion's Head up in the Whitewater area. Yeah. So that was like a key area because it was just great habitat. Deer and elk loved it. Yeah. Bears loved it, and they're like, well, these mountain goats, it's they're gonna like it. You got those high peaks. That alpine area. They're like, all right, let's set it up. So we did. We went up there. We brushed it out. Used restoration crews. I went up and we actually had to dig snow drifts out of the way because it was way up there, and the release was about midsummertime. So it was still snow. A lot of good veg up there. So we set up these burlap, like a fence made out of burlap. So like when you released them, these goats would run out down the hill into the cliffs and off to multiply, and live and multiply. So that was like my whole job there was basically to monitor them after release.
Yeah.
So as a youth, not a youth, but as a summer intern in school, that was great for my resume. So I was a intern working on tech work, which usually, that's like almost like a undergrad or graduate school work.
And then when you get to school, then it's the same thing too, right?
Yeah, like I get to school and they're just like, they're teaching me this stuff. So when I decided to go for my my undergrad in wildlife, it was easier for me because I already had the experience.
Yeah.
And so I after I gained my associate's degree at the community college, I transferred to Oregon State University.
OSU.
Yep.
I see that. Let me ask you, do you get a lot of flack for being OSU?
Oh, all the time, man. Man, the Duck fans are man, they're horrible out here.
Right, they are. No, I'm a OSU fan, right? My mom went there for a spell, so I have an OSU shirt, and every time, man, somebody always got to say
They always have to talk crap, man. And I'm just like so happy we won the Civil War.
I saw that
man.
this year, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this past season,
that was awesome. I mean, like
I think football. I won $10 that day.
Nice.
But, it was worth it.
Yeah, it was badass, and I'm a Beaver fan. From a young age all the way to now getting a degree from there.
And there's very few of us too.
Yeah,
you can just tell. We all got to band together.
Yeah, but we're the smart ones. We're the ones holding jobs.
Exactly, right.
But I was raised hell with a lot of those Duck fans. Like, I got my shirt. I got it at the college. You probably picked yours up at Walmart. Right. Duck fans just hate it.
Yeah.
But that, it's all cool though. But after I got my degree, I had a position already waiting for me as a biologist here.
Sweet.
I was basically brought up. My mentor was a biologist. He used to work up in Alaska on the Denali, park. So he came down, worked for the tribes, did some cool work, and he knew I was going to school. He was mentoring me, and he was just like, I'm gonna help you as much as I can, train you in his job. So he trained me as a biologist, along with the other biologists there. And he knew I was like, well, you're going to get your undergrad and they'll qualify you for this position. So once you get your degree, it's like, I'm putting my papers in. I'm going back to Alaska because, that's where his heart was set.
Yeah.
He was down here for family stuff. But anyhow, he put his, he set me up, for success. He worked me through like all the, being part of the PIT team, which is like the project interdisciplinary team. So we work on projects through the res. Any project that happens in our natural resource areas, we go through the PIT process, large scale and to the small scale as well. So he helped me out with that, and it was pretty sweet because a lot of guys don't get that on the outside. You go Joe Schmo who goes and get their undergrad. Usually they're out there doing seasonal work, and here I am. I'm already set up. I have roughly 4 to 5 years of experience already working as a wildlife technician, and I worked a little bit of fisheries as well. Yeah. And then I get this position as it's a full-time salary position.
Yeah,
I'm just like I could do a lot for this tribe, and that's where my heart is. It's to get our wildlife population back and protect those habitats for future generations.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome. And I was like, man, I could do a lot here. It's being young and just being open to all the ideas.
Yeah. Another thing too I wanted to switch on was hunting. So you're an avid hunter, I assume, right? And I myself, when I grew up in Cali a little bit, back and forth, and I remember coming back like 7th grade year, and like my family was like mandatory to get your first kill. Like they took me out for like 20 days straight. And it was like, I don't care about your nice shoes or your nice clothes, you're taking those with you. And they would do everything to break me, cut up my shoes, cut up my, you know what I mean? Just be that. And so hunting was really like mandatory. You know what I mean? Was it like that in your guys' family?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Most native kids I've grown up with, they are all hunters. I remember opening day of rifle season, of deer season on the res. Nobody went to school. All his kids, all his boys. I remember going with my dad, my older brother, going out hunting. We're all, have our knives on our hip and stuff, going back to school.
Yeah.
After my dad gets a deer, my dad drops us off at the elementary school. We walk inside, and I still had a knife on my hip. And teacher's like, "Oh, I put that away, Austin." Back in the day, right?
Right.
But yeah, I grew up doing it. Grew up hunting and fishing. It's a part of me, and it's a part of our people, really.
Yeah.
And so, I have that. under the Treaty of 1855, we have that right to hunt and fish in our unclaimed land. So, I exploited that all the time. I was like, tell people, get out there, practice your right.
Right. And so actually, because when we did it, we had to hunt. We did a little bit of fishing, and then I quit. I just, went out there, got Kashum, and did all the other stuff. Yeah. And then just this past year, because I quit for maybe 10, 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And I would go hunting off and on, just as a ride and to get out there and hike around, But I never really took it serious until this year. I went down to, I think it's Lone Pine at the Columbia.
Yeah.
And they have this little itty bitty ass ladder that you got to climb up and down. And I weighed 340, you know what I mean? Yeah. So climbing up and down this ladder, it was like, just stay down. And when you get there, and just, if you go up, just stay up, But I really got into it. We got the little things from the spikes from the railroads, and really got into it, went to Shears a few times. And it really dawned on me, this is the life, you know what I mean? It was really fun. And then come hunting season, I went hunting, and I was honest with the people I was with. I was like, look, I haven't gone hunting in years. If I get something, y'all got to re-show me how to gut this deer out. Yeah. And at least I was honest, you know what I mean? And they respected that. They were like, that's awesome. So anyway, we find these elk way out there, and everybody start laughing like it looked like a war out there. You know what I mean? And and then anyway, I ended up getting a buck this year, and I got it with a 243, and I thought I just shot it, but I went over there to be all happy and hold up the horns. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they cracked the skull, messed up the horns, so it looked kind of floppy.
Oh man,
yeah, it was just terrible. So I was wondering, okay, so people that not necessarily don't hunt. What kind of rifle do you think that would be good, to start out with?
Well, a starter gun, like my son got, a starter gun is a 243, really.
Yeah, because they could take down an elk and a
and they're, if you're talking legal-wise, so under the tribal code and the state code, a 243 is basically universal for deer and elk. For deer, it's a 22 caliber or larger centerfire, and for elk, it's typically it's 24 caliber or larger, so a 243 sits in that realm.
Yeah.
But there's other rifles out there that I love using. So I was trained in the 7.62 by 5.1, which is basically a 308. I used that when I was a scout sniper in the Marine Corps. And I bought one of those when I first came home at a Marine Corps. I was like, man, I'm going to get myself a 308, big old barrel, big old scope on it. And I use that, and that's like that's a universal gun for deer and elk. My wife shot her first deer with my 308.
Amanda got her first kill?
Amanda got her first kill. It was crazy. I got her on a nice buck. She took a shot from 340 yards from the prone, smacked it right in the shoulder. Well, it was a little bit further back than it was supposed to be. But, bottom line, it went down.
What was your reaction?
I was just like, holy crap. Her reaction was funny because, it's 308. It kicks a little bit. Smacked her in the eye, gave her a little scope bite.
They thought you hit her. They was blaming you. Wasn't coming at you like...
Oh, man. She was just like, oh, you didn't tell me it kicked that hard. Because she was carrying a smaller rifle, my 222, which is my kit I grew up as a kid using. She was carrying that originally, and I was like, oh, there's a buck right there. You want to take it? She's like, yeah, let's take it. We already hiked in here really far. It's the first buck we've seen. I'm like, all right, well, it's right there. I ranged it, threw the dope on the scope, and got her ready to shoot. And, her thought was it's going to be like a 22. Yeah. No, kicked her. Deer went down, finished it off, and we drug it out of there. That was the first kill.
Yeah.
But that's my thought on what is the best rifle to start with is start within that 243 to 308. It's they call them a small action, or they're a short action type of rifle, but it's good for both deer and elk.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of guys will go out there and they'll get like a 300 Win Mag or a 338 or something huge, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself a deer or an elk, and they just blow away to meat. And us being subsistence hunters, we're meat hunters.
Yeah, everything is.
Yeah. So you gotta save. There's a lot of guys out there be like, well, I'm gonna get like a 22 or 22 mag and do headshots only. Like, well, that's good and all if you're really that accurate. but bottom line, like your percentage of hitting and success is gonna be pretty low, and you're probably gonna wound some animals or miss. And the bottom line, you go for if you're a meat hunter, go for the spot behind the shoulder. I have my brother. I watched him this past year. He's like, oh, there's a big old buck. I was like, last day of the season. I'm like, oh, there's a big old buck right there. And I'm like, all right, go get it. He's going after it. And he's like taking these shots. Boom, miss. What are you doing? Reload. Boom, miss. Like, what's going on? He's like, I'm trying to hit it in the neck. And I'm just like, I'm pissed. I'm like, but yeah, he shot deer before. Yeah. And it's fine. Neck shots. But I'm like, the best thing to do in that situation is go for the biggest, kill zone. Go for the boiler room. Put them down. And that's kind of, my thought is like, use the best, caliber that makes sense to you, that you can accurately shoot. That's going to put the animal down from a deer, elk, bear, whatever.
So another thing I wanted to ask you was, for people whose family don't necessarily hunt or fish, is there something on the res that's is there opportunities for people to learn?
Yeah, in the past I used to do the hunter education through ODFW, but since we went away with the ODFW hunting tags and them regulating our hunting rights off the reservation, we kind of went away with the hunter education class, and a lot of it actually has moved online. So there's these hunter education online courses funded through ODFW with the Pittman-Robertson Act, which, it's for every bullet, every rifle you buy, the percentage of that goes to education, hunter conservation. So a lot of that money that's being utilized is going towards hunter education. And so, like, our tribal youth or younger adults that want to hunt and learn how to hunt, go online, go to ODFW webpage, and there's these hunter ed links, and it's like a modules where you could go on there. And, you know how, like, kids nowadays, everything's electronic, everything's online, everything's on your phone. You could do it on your phone. You could jump on there and go through these modules, and they'll teach you and talk to you, and they'll they'll talk to you and show you different types of
chat on
yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's you do that once you've successfully passed that that course on the hunter ed online, then you can print off a certificate. But the requirement is you need to do a field day where you have to show that you can actually shoot a rifle properly, carry a rifle properly, cross a fence, ride in a vehicle, and then you have to do a test where you have to pass it with 80% or better. So and all of that, those are field days you can sign up for. Jefferson County has them, Wasco County has them, Deschutes County. Throughout area they hold them. Usually it's during the summer and prior to hunting season. And awesome. We want to get more of the in-house classes going. Yet we don't have any volunteers because all hunter safety is through any state. It's all a volunteer base. You have hunters stepping up and getting certified to teach hunter ed. And a lot of the guys, they'll take the hunter ed classes and they'll be like, oh man, this is great stuff. And they could add to it. Like we want to do is we want to add the treaty rights, conservation, and also the traditional part of hunting and how it's incorporated to our youth. So that's something in the future that we want to do. My job currently, I'm working a lot of the forestry stuff and the wildlife stuff and managing for all that. It's tough for me to fit a whole course in there. Right. So what we need really is guys to step up, hunters, responsible hunters who are out there abiding by the state's regs as well as tribal regs and laws to come up, step up, and teach these youth who are out, because if they're not going to learn that way, they're going to learn the wrong way, which is, comes down to poaching and all the other stuff. Right. So I can't talk more about that, but it's just like, it's one of those things that we really need to get a grasp on is, teaching those upcoming hunters the proper way to handle a deer, save meat, all of that. Because a lot of guys don't, there's so much waste. I mean, driving around out there in the woods during hunting season, I find a deer where someone like, all right, someone shot this deer. And I walk over there and there's so much meat left. There's a hide left laying there. I'm like, man, all they took was like the shoulders, the back straps, no, usually they leave a shoulder where they shot it. Another shoulder's taken, the back strap's taken, the all the quarters except for a shoulder basically left. There's a neck meat still there, so it's like a whole neck roast. There's a hide there that someone could tan up and make something out of. Right. And then they just chop off the horns, leave the brain. I'm like, man, there's dogs here on the res that could eat some of that.
That's true.
You know, there's women out there who are learning how to tan and can use that for traditional regalia. All that stuff is left back, and I'm like, man, these guys are really screwing it up, man. It's very wasteful, and you know, we should be more proud of this food here, you know, because it was given to us, and a lot of guys are losing that. And I've seen that multiple times. You know, guys that call them big time hunters, been hunting all their life. I run upon some of their kills, and I watch them like, holy crap, this big time hunter just left all this
that
there.
whole time. You thought they were doing it in a responsible way. That whole time, but they were probably taught the same thing, you know.
Yeah, and it's pretty sad because, you know, I was taught how to take everything, you know.
Absolutely.
I remember my dad taking even like part of the stomach, you know, the akhbash, taking that, and, you know, using that or using everything you can. Yeah. And kind of, I'm learning too, new stuff you can use. You know, you could eat the tongue out of the deer. You could
really?
Is
it like lingue, what they do with the cow tongue?
Yeah, you can do that. Or, you know, you could, you know, it's funny because I learned it from one of my buddies who, you know, he's a white guy. Yeah. Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, eat this. It's pretty good. And I'm like, oh, man, we never eat that. It's like, really? I think you guys would. I'm like, no, we usually just leave that or feed the dogs. It's like, oh, man, this is good. So he cooks it up. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. I have to share that. It's like, yeah, there's so much you can eat from an animal. Yeah. So much you could save. And I was like, you know, that's part of the education process, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, man, we're going to get ready to wrap this up. But ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Austin Smith Jr. Do follow this man. Look him up and cheer him on as well. So right now we're going to get into the fun part of the thing. We're going to ask you 5 simple questions. You know what I mean? Yeah. Answer which way. Okay. What's your favorite Indian movie?
My favorite Indian movie? Jeez, man. So many choices out there. Probably Last of the Mohicans, man. That's an awesome, you know, I remember, you know, the fights on there, the gun battles. The opening scene's probably the best. You know, when they shoot that elk in the forest.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 2 people that inspire you.
My wife and my mother.
Wow, okay. And then where's 3 places we could find you?
3 places. So you could find me on social media, you know, Facebook or Instagram on there. And then you also at the Natural Resources, you know, that's my full-time job. And, you know, I live in Bend, so, you know, there's places you could kind of find me. If you're in the area shopping, shoot me a message. You want to hang out, chat, have a beer. You know, Bend's a beer town, so I drink beer. I'm a Marine. And so, you know, you can find me there on the social media. And at work, you know, I'm pretty active in the community with my job, you know, as a wildlife biologist.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Indigenous Avenue on Big B. Thank you for tuning in.